No, nothing. I know I'm a little bit late. I wanted to wait until the iArcade stream was officially over. So this sucks. What shitty news today. I know we talked about it last night when we saw the live show was going out.
Hmm.
It was a little bit sad. You read the description for the show. It said iArcade, a home arcade console, and then in the actual description it said a simple but complex process or whatever it was, complex idea. I read the description for the show last night and I said, geez, it sounds a little bit like an obituary, right? That's how
Hmm.
you read it, like B Kong, a good father. So this sucks. Like I talked to a lot of people. We did a lot of guessing last night what this could be, and a lot of us thought this was going to be the shift in direction, kind of where they were going and what they were going to be talking about. But unfortunately, it didn't look like it went in that direction. So, what are your thoughts be on the show?
Yeah, when we saw the title of the stream itself, it did give an illusion that there were plans, right? And so they mentioned the phase two plans. And in my head, I always did think since it was an Android-based thing, it could live on other platforms. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. So it is a sad day to see the official confirmation that, the iArcade platform is going down. But it was some nice silver linings at the very least about people being able to use their consoles for other use moving forward. For those that are familiar with Glenn's Retro Show and having that hardware mod be a platform for many users to continue getting life out of it was a good thing. It's weird for having a company, go out of business, but still now say, hey, it's a product that could do more things for you still. And it truly is. You've spent your hard earned money on this and it's your product. So you could technically do whatever you want with it. And that's what they've really opened the door. So it's interesting the options they gave consumers to live post
Yeah, I
IRK.
mean, let's be honest here. Like, say for example, the iArcade did go out of business,
Hmm.
store goes offline. You're just sitting there. You're like, well, I can never add anything else to it. I mean, more than likely, people weren't going to try to sell these out. It's a really good piece of equipment. It's an excellent piece of equipment. So, more than likely, there would have been some either home hacks, like people putting pies in it or something like that, a PC to get it up and running with the
Hmm.
games they wanted, or at least we have this option. I know a lot of people in the community that during the show were saying, why don't you just open it up? Why don't you just open it up so we can put whatever we want on it? And I mean, it's not fair to ask that. I mean, that's like the Dreamcast. When the Dreamcast was about to shut down, people saying, just open it up. Unfortunately, what caused the Dreamcast to go down was it was opened up. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, so what do users have currently post IRK going away? And it looks like next Wednesday is one of their official kind of offline dates for the sales, and they
yeah.
alluded to you can still purchase stuff, but after that, it's like up to the creditors or whatever they have going. But they're officially filing for bankruptcy. Those are facts, right? So it truly is up in the air in terms of the actual hardware itself. But they've claimed that once you've purchased it, downloaded, it stays on your game forever, just in an offline state. But you have the option to get Jillen's control deck, which also can be plugged into he's talked about the GRS SBC, which is a single board computer. You can liken it to its Android box or Raspberry Pi
Yeah.
that will be able to load the iArcade software on that separate box. So at that point, you wouldn't be using the original iArcade board anymore. You'd be using Glenn's SBC with the iArcade software. You'd have to like re-download your games onto that and then switch it to and that's interesting because I haven't seen Android Box have this. Essentially, run another type of front end system like Battle Sarah or RetroPie or something like that, which is Linux based. So it's interesting that they're going that way.
Oh, I didn't see it that way that you would have to switch, download your iRK games onto Glenn's board because, I mean, how are you going to be able to download your iRK games on the Glenn's board? Once the server's down, you can't re-download them, right?
I guess that's true.
I
So
think it
I
was
guess
just switching
switches
between the two
between so the
computers.
monitor would switch between his board and the original game.
Yeah,
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so
yeah.
maybe that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, I thought they were still gonna keep the Android option on his board too. But okay, that probably makes more sense. Sorry, yeah. So it would be a hardware switch between his board and the stock iArcade version,
It's just
or
like
like a
if
monitor switch.
if you remember when we went to Galloping Ghost, they had
Mhm,
tons of arcades that had
mhm,
multiple games in them and
mhm,
marquees, and
mhm,
there was just like a switch where you'd switch between PCBs. I would
mhm.
assume this is the exact same thing. You switch between
Yeah.
iArcade's PCB to.
That's always been, like, one of the most requested things for, like, Arcade 1-Up mods. Can I
Yeah,
keep the stock Arcade 1-Up mod, but then put a RetroPie into it? And the problem has always been, like, yes, physically, you can make a switch for the monitor to work between the 2. It's the control panel, getting the encoder to work with the stock one plus the RetroPie or whatever, has always been the biggest issue. So I'm curious about in that solution, Glenn's panel has to work with both. Like you'll see a connection for his panel to go into his board and then a connection to go into the board separately. So it's because he's creating the panel that makes that possible because normally it's not. So that's cool. So in order to
yeah.
keep both, you'd have to get the panel and that mod.
So I got a question here. I don't remember this being answered
Mhm.
during the show, but this has been asked by Jr. What happens if to your game investment if your iArcade PCB breaks down the road? And the truth of the matter is, if your games get deleted off your system, like accidental factory reset, or if your board breaks, that's it. I mean, once the server's down, you aren't going to be able to re-download them. So that is the
Correct.
end of the road for your experience with your iArcade and the stock games, the ones you've downloaded. However, as long as your games are on your console, nothing happens, no factory reset, nothing happens to your board, you can still play them as long as you have the cabinet and it still works.
It's kind of like when your PlayStation finally breaks down, right? It's the same thing. You can buy another iArcade from somebody else, and I'm sure the resale values of iArcade. Do you think they'll keep their value, go down, go up? Like, is it collectible? Like, where do you think the market for iArcade will be post this news?
So I'm just going to be very honest. I've never found the market for iArcade to be
Mhm,
that high.
mhm.
Like selling my iArcade was one of my most challenging home arcade sales, and I feel a lot of people have the same. It's a great system, but trying to explain it to somebody, okay, so it's a multicade, I can put whatever I want on it. No. Okay, so it's a dedicated arcade, so it matches an arcade that I would remember. No. So it was a niche, very niche market in the first place. I loved it, but I could see how maybe it didn't have the same mainstream appeal that straight up multicade or like an
Yeah.
arcade recreation would have.
Funny enough, I had a potential buyer for my iArcade yesterday. Dan from
Oh,
Outrun the Neon Sun was like, "Hey, how much do you want to sell your iArcade for?" And I was like, I don't know. Like, I think you should try it first before you buy." I was offering to let him just borrow it, and then today he's like, "I guess I won't be buying that iArcade." I was like, "No, I could have
wow.
already had it." Yeah.
So DMod says we've already privately hacked this. I'll share a little bit of information. I believe this has been hacked for about a year and a half, and the only reason that no one ever released the hack was the fact that nobody really wanted to hurt Zhang's business. People respected him. They didn't really want to put him in a bad spot. So, it is already, there is a soft mod hack out there. So if you don't care, I don't know if you can keep the iArcade system on it, like your games and stuff. But if you don't care about that, you just want to hack it and turn it into a multicade right away. More than likely, there's going to be options out there. And like you said,
Mhm.
we might have somebody join us at some point, but that person is eager to get going
Yeah,
on
DMod is
a
part of
hack
Team
for it.
Encoder
Yeah,
at large, and so what that means is like just like the infinity table hack, right? So the way that they would, it's all Android based. You can still run the stock stuff as part of the options, but then it would be open for you to run other options that as an Android based, Linux based thing, you can put on essentially what is it? Emulation station essentially is kind of be the big thing you could add into it, and then from there you bring your own games. So I'm excited for that potential possibility now. It probably would be one of the main reasons I would keep my arcade because as much as I love my multicades and things, I've actually moved away from many of the multicades in my arcade. When you have a plethora of arcades, you really don't need all of them to be multicades,
yeah.
right? And so having the one could suffice. And this may be my one that has the 6 button layout. So the control schemes are great for obviously a multicade. So this would be great option for people to gut it, put it in, keep your stock arcade, doing those things.
Really quickly, we got a couple super chats I want to get to. Super chat 499. Ezekiel the Chicago Retro Ranger. Now I feel bad that I gave you guys Arcade One All Pats in front of Michael. I think out of this news, thank you very much, Ezekiel, by the way. I think out of
Yeah.
this news, probably the thing I'm saddest about was we had so much friggin' fun last year going to iArcade, getting really, really intoxicated and doing crazy things at the iArcade Game and Brew. And I'm so sad that we're not going to get a repeat experience of that. I hope one day down the road, we might never have another iiRcade event again, but I really hope to see Michael again. His
He said he's going to
mustache was
Cleveland
like the
still,
best thing
so
in the
he's
world.
gonna hang
Yeah,
out with us.
that's
So
dope.
yeah,
We'll get
yeah.
the real dirt at that point.
Yeah. And funny enough, when we hung out with Michael at Chicago last year, he mostly hung out with us as a fan more than a
Yeah.
rep of iiRcade like the day before. So he was more off the clock and just enjoying time hanging out
Oh,
at
we had
Galloping
so
Ghost
much
with
fun.
us. And he
Yeah.
was a really interesting, has a great history, by the way. Used
Oh
to
yeah.
live in California, worked at Disneyland as a parade performer. That man has a man
Get
of
out of
many talents.
town.
Yeah, he was on the Toy Story float. He used to be one of the cowboys on the Toy Story float to swing around the vine. So for folks that know what I'm talking about, California Adventure Toy Story Parade, that's where you can find Michael.
I might have actually seen him more than likely. I was
Yeah,
there.
right?
I've got to find out when he was working there.
Yeah.
Another super chat from Stringer Films here. $2 US. I'm doing yard work while your lazy ass is playing games. That's not my fault. My yard is so overgrown with weeds and stuff now. I'm
Mhm.
intentionally leaving it a mess just to mess with the neighbors.
Oh, so you like Bush is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna manscape it soon.
Okay.
We get another one here from Hobby Hands. Hobby Hands says, "Less choice is a real bummer."
Yeah.
And overall, that's the suckiest thing about this. Like, I was watching it and I was like, I think I'll say it. I'm not afraid to say it. Seems like interest in the whole home arcade space has really gone down a lot. Like we as YouTube, content creators or whatever the hell you want to call us, YouTubers,
Yeah.
we've seen it. I mean, like, we'll put a video out. Less people are watching our home arcade type content. It seems like interest is declining. So even though you might not like iArcade, it's not a good sign when one of the companies in that space shuts down because it does reflect on overall interest in the product. And also the thing, man, competition's good. Iron forges iron. And when there's less competition, companies can be more complacent. It just sucks right now.
Yeah, I agree and can concur that channel growth and interest in just content in the home arcade space has been a little bit nil. That's just because of not only the release schedule and the kind of things that have been happening, some of the public PR choices that all the
Yeah.
companies have made to be able to kind of not help themselves create a positive outlook for the home arcade space. Um, Unfortunately, the future is not quite bright yet, but I'm hopeful that all of us have been able to you know keep interest where our interests lie. So I think content creators are starting to make things that they really truly enjoy versus just feeling they have to make content for the sake of it. There's like a pivot now, I feel, instead of really jumping into every little bit of news out there, that there's some more quality versus quantity, maybe. When our content career channels can still continue to thrive, that's what I'm really focused on personally, right? It's like finding that new
Well,
balance.
I've been intentionally not doing news videos just to mess with Arcade One Up Weekly News. So you can't feature me. Screw you, buddy.
Sorry, man. Oh, that's
No,
funny.
no.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the super chat, Hobby Hands. I agree, and there just hasn't been a lot of news, and I think people have slowed down.
Mhm.
We'll see where it goes from here. This is definitely
Yeah.
newsworthy, but more than anything else, this is really sad. Like nobody should celebrate this. I
Mhm.
mean, a company is shutting down. People are losing their jobs. Like, and these are good people. Jung's awesome.
Yeah.
Michael's super awesome.
Some of the most
And
personable people
yeah,
from a company that people enjoy the people more than the product. And that's probably where some of the allegiances and loyalties came out of. It's because of the attached to people more than a
yeah.
product. I pull up CT Jason's comment here. He says,
Which one?
CT Jason Nation. He says, I unfortunately lost interest 7 months ago. And that's not that time much has been released. And this was one of the content creators that like literally left to make toy videos instead of finishing his drama. What is it? Home Arcade Championship, right? Mike, we were a part of this Home Arcade Championship,
Well, I
but
was knocked out at that point. I just didn't
we
care.
we never saw your
I know.
what happened to you, Mike? Where did you end up? I filmed a video
Oh,
with you, remember?
yeah, I got eliminated and they never showed it. So
Yeah,
spoiler
so
alert,
spoiler
I got
alert, that's what
eliminated,
I'm
but you'll
saying,
never
right?
know.
CT Jason Nation. We filmed that like so long ago, and
Yeah.
that was a fun time. But things like that, like little projects to keep the home arcade space active. Some of that creativity left when CT Jason left. There's a lot more that I wish could have still been done. But do you have positive outlook for the rest of the companies now? Where does this puts you, Mike? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what I can say is I know a little bit about at games because I did a show last Monday and what we know, what we don't know. And I mean, we know at games have new products coming out in the new year. We can't tell what the success rate will be for those new products, but what they're releasing sounds exciting. I mean, it's multicades, a lot of stuff can come out. So I'm pretty excited about that. With Arcade One Up, um, it's a tough one because I know they have more stuff coming out than they previously thought they were going to release this year. So that's exciting. Apparently, sales for the deluxe cabs and for Fast and the Furious have gone really, really well. So maybe they're turning a corner and going in a more positive direction too. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's only a handful. I think the last one update show did allude to several more releases at the very least, and there haven't been. I guess there have been like leaks, right? But
Yeah.
nothing like as a roadmap. There's no like big roadmap of
Well, we
stuff.
know Big Buck Hunter Deluxe is coming out. That'll probably be
Yes,
next.
that's true. But nothing like the what was it last year that the what was the list that gave us all the dates for Marvel versus Capcom
Gamefly,
2?
Gamefly list.
Gamefly. So
Yeah.
like that was like that's huge, right? A Randy's record that has multiple listings with dates and things. We don't have that type of roadmap out this year for Arcade One Up. So at least we can expect new stuff coming out from that company. But many people, it's the realization that 3 years into a hobby and collecting stuff, space is probably now the enemy of most collectors.
Yeah,
So it's
big time.
now a matter of like you've had to replace things to get something new, and that's the thing with large size collectibles, if you will, right? If you don't have the space for it, it's now decision time, and people are now I still buying if it's a good deal. Like I buy stuff when I don't have the space for it because it's a good deal, but then I'm like, crap, where am I gonna put it? Like I think that's where most people are at right now, unfortunately.
So, it's funny because I hit that point this year where my wife was so patient, so positive. She let me take over this massive bedroom in her basement and turn it into an arcade. And then, she let me bring my multicades up in this office to make extra room and let me take over this office to do YouTube and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then she was okay with the idea of me buying a couple extra cabinets. And I was like, well, I'm just storing them here now. This is going to be an overflow space. But after 3 years of taking over the majority of our house, she just had enough. She was like, "This, we're
Yeah,
we're done here, buddy."
done.
So I had to make some changes myself. So I
Mhm.
get it. I understand where people are coming from.
Yeah, like for last night, I did my video about I'm selling my Legends pinball machine, but I'm not I'm attached to it, but I'm upgrading to a larger one, so I'm not technically saving space.
Yeah,
But it's yeah, a lot of these home arcade products in this market were a lot of a reintroduction of arcade nostalgia to many people. That's what it was for me. Like I was an arcade fan, but I wasn't this hardcore growing up, and now I'm like, oh, there's other things to explore, real pinball machines, real arcades. And so moving on from the home arcade space, which is truly an introduction of home arcade to the masses,
yeah.
the hardcore community is looking at other options now. Can I consolidate? Can I get more efficient? Can I find better quality things than what the companies are offering? But yeah, back to iArcade. Do you feel that you'll be getting the Glen stick and things? And so let's talk about that for a second. What do you think about Glen coming into silver lining, somewhat save the day for iArcade owners?
Glenn's a bit of a hero, man. Like just
Mhm.
when it seems like what is the line from the Transformer movie? He will light us at our darkest hour.
Yes, light shall work our darkest
This
hour.
hour. So that was
Matrix.
Glenn. Glenn
You
opened up
got the
the
touch, and then
transformic
Glen's face
matrix of
popped up.
leadership and provided a way forward for iArcade fans and the
Mhm.
cabinet. So it was really cool. A lot of people were worried about Glenn, and a lot of people were saying things. There was people that, let's be honest, I don't understand the concept of liking one company or disliking one company enough to focus your life on it. So the people that were celebrating what we saw as warning signs as the potential demise of iArcade, they were all saying like Glenn's getting screwed here. Glenn obviously twofold worked it out. So not only is his product still going to go ahead, all the research and development's worth it, but it's also going to provide new life to the iArcade and make it more exciting. So it's great that he came in, delivered this product, and then really paved the way forward for the fans that they can still enjoy their machine. Because I said it, I don't know if it was on my show last week. One of the things about the iArcade, and people might get mad at me about this, like, let's be honest, the games list was never what it should have been.
Yeah.
Games list never got to the point where it was super exciting, but it was still an awesome arcade, and it was fun to play these games because of how special and how good the actual console was itself. So now that we're opening up a window where this can become a multicade with a correct format 4x3 screen and with the same sound, quality controls, and everything, then with Glenn's deck, I think this is a really positive thing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the options to even have this switcher, right?
Yeah,
So that you can do all the third party things that Glenn does best and then still play your home arcade systems. It's going to be a good option. I do think it's an additional cost to keep your machine going if you
yeah.
want to breathe new life into it. So I mean, like, you don't have to do that to continue playing your games, is what iArcade has said. But to not have a game library that you can purchase, it is now BYOG, right? It's a bring your own game
Bring your
into
own Glenn.
bring your own Glenn into the iArcade. Glenn
Yeah.
loves getting his feet into little things, and I think it's an innovative option. And I think it was the first time he revealed the price point of his deck too.
That's crazy.
Right,
169.
right.
Everybody was
I
saying it was
think,
going to be like $300, and I
yeah,
was
there
like,
was a lot of speculation about the price point of that. So I think that was a big reveal. I'm looking at the Thunderstick website because he said it was gonna like go live like right now, right afterwards, but I haven't seen it pop up yet. So I think as soon as it does, they're looking at getting. He needs to get to 500 pre-orders for the deck before it ships. So it's not something that's already been developed and made. That is a number. What do you think about that number? Do you think that's going to be hard for the iArcade community to get to? Do you think there's going to be enough interest to get there?
um, I think that right now the idea of turning your iArcade into a multicade isn't just going to be exciting for like iArcade diehards that maybe tuned into that show today, and they had a great
Mhm.
response. They had over 300 people watching live.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Mhm.
if those people are dedicated enough to watch live, they
Mhm.
purchase one plus because there's about I can say this now. I know there's approximately about 10,000 iArcade units out in the wild. So that's how many
Mm.
actually sold. So with
Okay.
10,000
That's
out in the
confirmed or
wild,
rumor? That's confirmed. Like you know. You're like, I don't care anymore.
I
That's
don't
the
give a
number
shit.
that's out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about 10,000 out in the wild.
Okay.
Like I don't think the gold did as well. I think that was really limited. So I
Yeah.
think that number might only be 200,
Yeah.
but there was about 10,000 iArcades that went out to
Gen
the
1s
public.
and
So
everything else.
yeah,
Okay, so the user base, you need a percentage of the user base, right? Like 5% of your user base to be able to do this. Is that the right math? Yeah, 500. Um, it's 169 is a good price point for that. I think that's going to help, right? To be able to, it's probably one of the best cost accessories that's going to give you trackball, spinners to play with the stock games too. I think that's one of the best things for a multi-card is having controls that work with it. So I think the price point is right. Glenn is also, I think, saying the SBC would be around the $50 ish
50
range
bucks.
too,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I do think price point wise, those are stellar to get into the multi-KO realm. It's about you would pay for a Raspberry Pi or a controller on anything else. So I mean, even if you just bought that system to put it on a TV, you probably could, but this does give people that want that just hardware solution to buy it, support Glenn, still kind of support your arcade, put it in. I think it's a good price point. Am I gonna get it? I'm still on the fence.
Yeah.
Personally, um, I have a lot of other plays to play multi-cade things. I do think it's a great solution for those that liked buying licensed arcade games and playing it on arcade. Like that was a niche audience that really liked the arcade platform for the multi-cade. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence with it. Are you on the fence as well? What are you gonna do?
Well, see, I asked this question today, and I guess I got my answer, but I don't know if I got my answer. I asked the question, what about the online for some of these games? So
Mm,
it's a little unclear. Online for games that online was set up by the publisher that have their own servers, like Riptide Renegade and I guess Bomb Squad, will continue. However, if you have a game like, say, Warrior Blade, that the online is strictly through iArcade server, it won't continue. But I was like, what about the games with the peer-to-peer connections? Can't peer-to-peer to work without the server? So can I
mhm.
still play them without a server for peer-to-peer, or is that gone as well?
Yeah, I think all the peer-to-peer stuff, anything that was hosted is going away. The
So
only
peer to
thing
peer is still hosted. I'm not a
Yeah,
computer
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
scientist.
it's
Yeah.
still it's
Okay.
still going through their system for it. So I think the only thing that will still stay online would be like the Bomb Squad or the Riptide Renegade that was going through the developer server that they were saying. So anything that looked like their old thing. But that, I mean, that was hardly a selling point and a great utilized feature in my opinion. Because just the input lag in between the gameplay was never that great between that experience. So it was a good idea, just not implemented well.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say was the fact that the online support is gone definitely detracts from me maybe keeping the iiRcade games, especially
Mhm.
where I have the gold and I can do a
Mm,
direct mod if I just want to turn it into a multicade. What I'll
mhm,
miss though is the specialty indie games that aren't
mhm,
really easily accessible
mhm.
that are on the console, like really good games like Galaxy Champions. Oh, what's the Robotron ripoff?
Saturn.
Satrin, Galacticon. Those games are
Yeah.
dope. So like, I want to keep those. So that's where it is. I'm definitely going to turn it into a multicade one way or another, but I got to choose whether or not I want to quite
Mhm.
pay the extra money and keep my original
Yeah.
iiRcade games. I mean, if it was $300 for the deck and then like $100 for the Switch, that'd be a really easy decision. I'm just gonna mod it, but
Yeah, but the price point makes
it's
you think,
affordable.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I
affordable.
was out, but, like, 160 and maybe I mean, Glenn stuff also goes on sale once in a while too, so once
Yeah.
it goes on it but I would say if you want it, support it. I mean, Glenn's a great guy as well. He's another one of those, I wanna support the person as much as I wanna support the product. I might buy it just to support Glenn to see this come to fruition.
Oh yeah. Well, Glenn doesn't need our money. Do you know how many women across the U.S. have bought Thunder Sticks? Glenn doesn't need money. He's rich.
That's
Do you
right.
see him all dressed up during the presentation with his shirt
Oh,
and tie
yeah,
on?
yeah.
Rich motherfucker.
Thunderstickstudio.com. Check it out, people.
Anyway, so we get a couple super chats I want to get through really quickly here. 4.99 US, Vic Vicious. So if One Up doesn't release new cabs like Qbert, Afterburner, ABP, instead of re-releases, are they in danger of shutting out their lights as well? I mean, since we're talking about iiRcade, I'll use a John term. Anything is possible, but realistically, I think Arcade One Up is in a situation that, despite sometimes where I can be extremely critical of them, it's almost like they will stay in place in spite of themselves sometimes. So I know that the deluxe cab sold well. I know Fast and the Furious sold well. So it doesn't seem like they're really in any danger right now. But
The
anything can
other new
happen.
bit of news is that John was posting pictures at Licensing Expo. So that means that he's still working licensing deals. And there's
Yeah.
still a couple of big nuggets to get out there with like Nintendo and some other what's the other one that he doesn't have? Is it just Nintendo?
Well, he says he doesn't have SNK, but
Oh,
he's
okay.
got SNK.
But he was showing pictures hanging out with his Capcom crew. So we know there's gonna be a Capcom Legacy at some point, released at some point
Oh,
this year
but
too. That yeah, yeah.
that's called academic. Like you're telling me John D is working for a company that's not going to release a Street Fighter cab this year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
All right, we get a couple more I want to get to. Thank you very much, Vic Vicious. Super chat $2. Is it too late for Glenn to add Pi and PC support?
I
I don't
think
think
his
so.
thing is gonna do that. It's
Yeah.
his GRS will allow you to add in um at least the at GRS SBC will be an Android box to be a retro Pi-ish and Emu ELAC, Battle Sarah, whatever you want. PC, I don't know if it's like if that would work as well. Maybe the switcher will be separate where you could go PC with his control deck too. I assume that his control deck will plug into his SBC via USB. And if it works, like if his control deck works where I could just plug it into a PC as well, I might just explore that. Or you could use his control deck like a
And
Legends gamer.
Glenn's a pretty like
Yeah.
intelligent guy and also really works well. So if you have recommendations on what he should do with this
Mhm.
switcher, with the deck, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like you're gonna write Glenn and be like, "Hey, I think you should let us set up a computer with it," and he's gonna be like, "No, fuck you, man. I'm just going with what I want."
Yeah, it's just
So
iiRcade now. Businessman, he'd make it more compatible with more
yeah,
things besides just that. So I think it would be possible.
yeah, 100%. Thank you very much, Stringer Films. We got a super chat here from Console Fanboy. This is what happens when you listen to only positive feedback. UAG, OTG, Messiah, and so many of us in our own way through videos, songs, and shorts begged them to change their ways, and they did not listen. All feedback is important. Zohar, I do thank you very much for the huge super chat. By the way, you didn't have to do that, but I do agree. I agree that constructive criticism is important for any company. Like when a company just tunes out all the negative and only wants to hear the positive, they're not going to do anything good. I mean, you've got to take both sides of the coin. Sometimes you got to hear hard truths. So there is some way to that. Maybe the message sometime was a little bit strong and a little hard. Sometimes people come on too strong. Like if someone told me, "Hey, Mike, I'd like to talk to you. I think there's some great fitness things you could do," I'd be like, "Thanks." Someone writes me and goes, "Hey, man, you're fucking fat." I'm not really going to listen to any recommendations. So, and maybe the message just wasn't put out to them in a way they wanted to listen to it. But I agree with you. You've got to listen to all sides of arguments, all consumer complaints, or things that you want to say. So
I think one
that's
thing
my
I would
point.
say that was alarming and sometimes disappointing was the reactions that the official spokespeople would have to some of the negative feedback as well, or the streams. Like we've said it too that I'll say it now, like Jong's community posts addressing those things, right? As much as we had access to the CEO, sometimes, from a business standpoint, it wasn't always a good look for a CEO to address those things because they almost
No,
caused more harm than good interacting with that. So it wasn't that he was saying yes to all the yes men. It was just some of the community perception. I kind of contributed. Like the writing was on the wall. At some of the more he said, the more he revealed how dire the things were happening versus kind of keeping
yeah.
quiet and just pushing through. And it's hard to not address those things. But from a CEO standpoint and some of the other things that happen, I thought that was always alarming whenever they did that.
My buddy Sean's here, RGT85. I honestly
Yep.
think the home arcade market is starting to dwindle down from everybody. That's what we were talking about earlier, Sean. We
Yeah,
agree.
right.
And you weren't fat, Mike. You were
Okay.
thick. I'm going to take that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
thick.
big
That's how I'm
bone,
going
right?
from
That's what
now
we used to
on.
call people, right?
Thanks, brother.
Does that mean RGT is gonna be liquidating all his non-stand-up stuff? I'm always been curious what he does with all his risers. Do you think he like stores them away, or does he like give them away to
I
stuff?
don't know. I asked him one time. I was like, "Why don't you use the risers?" He's like, "I just like sitting in my chair."
He likes sitting down to play the arcade
Yeah,
game. That's the
yeah,
next thing. True three-quarter scale arcade
yeah.
on the floor. That's how you gotta play. Yeah. All right.
Oh, I know you got to go soon, B. So I won't keep everybody too long. I just wanted to say, this day really sucks for fans of the iArcade. It sucks for the whole home arcade community. You never want to see one of these companies shut down, and this is the first time that actually one of these companies have come out and said we're done. I mean, like we assume Well Played's done, not done as a company because Well Played is a toy company mainly. So, and then you assume that Toy Shock's probably done, but nothing's come out and officially said. Unico, they're probably not making the cabinets anymore. They're going to stick to their monitors. But this is the first time one of these home arcade companies that we've fallen in love with and paid attention to for the last couple of years has officially came out and said it's over, and that really sucks, man.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall, but to see it happen was like right when I turned on my phone and saw it and saw the somberness, it was like kind of jumped out and said it straight away. There was no sugarcoating it. Um, and it was surprised that like it kind of was like these last minute investor dropouts to kind of get
Yeah.
you thinking like was it that was a lot of other factors and maybe that was the final straw that broke the camel's back type of thing. But I don't know what they could have done to pivot to make their phase two plans happen, right? And if it would have been successful if it launched, I think there's kind of still some what ifs there.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that, the phase 2 plan,
Yeah.
and, there was a lot of assumptions on that, but this big thing was that everybody was talking about they were gonna do. So we saw it today, and the, system basically would work on cell phones, so it's kinda what I assumed it was. We talked about this, B. I'm sorry if you gotta go to a meeting right now. You should just quit your job so you can scream at me all the time.
I bought myself another 6 minutes before I have
Good.
to
So
jump
really
off.
quickly, what he showed with the phone and stuff like that,
Yeah.
um, I think it was a good way. It's not something I would have done. I mean, I would have rather just played my games on my iArcade, but I don't know. Would the future have been successful with that? Do you think it would have made a difference or
I
just
think
more
it
of the
would. I
same?
mean, options are always like a good thing, right? But I think the type of games that they already had on their platform was like, you wouldn't have needed the store to buy that same game on your phone anyways, right?
Yeah,
So you download the iArcade app, and then, I mean, you're accessing your previous library, so it would have been good for current consumers, right, to give you more options. I don't know how this would have expanded the market to move folks, and maybe that would have been their things. Play indie arcade games like on your phone through this platform, iArcade. Like, would this have opened their market because people don't need to buy the hardware device anymore? You just download the arcade. I probably would have been somewhat of a small niche market for people, but I don't think it would have been the maybe the next phase or savior for everything else. Yeah.
yeah. Really quickly, Sean, you probably didn't see their stream, but one of the cool things was when Glenn started to show his deck for his iArcade, he made sure to show footage of him playing House of the Dead on it using the Sinden light guns. So, yeah, brother, I'll talk to you some more about it, and I'll get you set up.
It's
Get you
gonna
set up with
happen.
Glenn at least.
You can use that Gen 1 deck to do a
Yeah,
lot of things. It's gonna be
yeah.
on sale very shortly for 169.99 on thunderstickstudios.com.
So console fanboy, 4.99 US. Home arcade community is not dying; it's already dead. RGT 85, I'm headed towards your community. It's more the same. RGT 85 is an emulation channel now. He's not a Nintendo channel. He's an emulation channel. So Zohar, you better get familiar with emulation, brother. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Yeah, that's right. I even saw him doing movie reviews lately too. He was talking about Mortal Kombat and stuff. So, sky's the limit for all this home arcade and arcade content creators. You could talk about anything as long as you have an audience, right?
Well, I'll tell you honestly, RGT 85 has always just walked his own path. Like
Yeah.
I have the same mindset he does. That I don't think I'm a specific channel. I'm
Mhm.
Mike, and so I could talk
Yeah.
about anything. I can make a wrestling video tomorrow. You don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. So I don't know. Like for me, safer. I know you're short on time. This is a different topic. So very quickly, their new idea, I don't know if it would have been successful. The other thing I wanted to talk about, what really sucks, and I feel somewhat personally responsible for, is we've heard this before that when companies or people are looking to invest and stuff like that, um, they go to YouTube and they do research. It can't be good. The string of people making videos about like is iArcade in trouble recently, is
Yeah.
that possible that might have
Contributed
warned
to
off
it.
some of the
Are you saying
investors?
you're responsible for the downside of those investors not
No, but
investing
I'm
to
saying it
Arcade?
couldn't have been that good a sign that like all the
Yeah.
coverage on iArcade in the last couple of weeks has always been, are they going out of business? Are they in
Yeah,
trouble?
yeah, I
So
mean, that's true, right? As an investor, you wanna be confident that your investment is gonna have a nice return, and over the last 2 months, because of their actions, because of the things they've done, caused the general content creator community to make troubling concern videos, where rightfully so. So it was almost like a chicken and egg thing, I
yeah,
would say, that it didn't give us confidence that they could, which in turn didn't give investors that were investing, thousands of dollars into a company. It makes some sense. I wouldn't hold yourself that, powerful and
oh
accountable
no,
for
I don't
it.
think I'm that powerful. I'm talking about
You
the
are the
the
influencer that
breadth,
took down.
the
But yeah, there
the
was
width
many.
of coverage that's been
Yes,
happening
there's
lately.
been a lot
Yeah.
of coverage on it too. So I do hope that things look up for whatever Jong happens. I feel like Michael is the type of person that could get picked up really easily.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, he has the right personality. So Michael, if you're listening, I think you've done a great job at really making a positive
I,
name for
I'm
yourself.
I'm
And
I'm 100% sure.
yeah,
I know personally. I would think both of the other home arcade companies would be very interested in picking up Michael. There might be actually a bidding war between Net Games and Arcade One
yeah,
to grab him.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So put that resume out there. Maybe we'll see you
Oh,
back in
he
the
does.
home
He
arcade
doesn't
space
even need
soon.
a resume.
He doesn't.
Like
Yeah,
we
you're
could
gonna be
probably just
headhunting.
nudge PK
You're
right
gonna
here on
get him.
Skype and be like, "Hey PK, you might want to consider picking up Michael."
What's up? What's going on? Can you come
Yeah.
on board? All right, I
Yeah.
really do need to get to
Okay.
going,
But
but thank
okay.
you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, B. I'll say goodbye to everybody. You go on, brother.
All right, sounds good. See you guys later. Bye.
See you, buddy. All right, guys. So I'm not going to keep you much longer. That was just it. I just wanted to say today was a shitty day. I mean, it sucks. It sucks when somebody from the space goes. iArcade, not everybody saw the vision or really enjoyed the experience. Some people were negative towards it, but for those of us who picked up an iArcade, had fun being part of the community, had fun playing the games, today is a sucky day, but at least we know that the people that put it together, they've accomplished something. It's still something that we have in our homes. It's something that's out there. It's something that's cool. And of course, with the ability of Glenn now bringing out his new deck and the switcher, and there's a lot of possibilities, a lot of excitement around keeping the console. But the days of weekly game releases, seeing Michael do his game days, or even going back to John and Colin doing their Friday live shows, they'll sadly be missed. Anyways, that's everything from the show today. Unfortunately, iiRcade is filing from bankruptcy. Sale is still continuing to go on, will be going on till next Wednesday. So if there's any games you want to pick up, you can pick them up till next Wednesday. Also, be careful because if there's anything that you took off your console or haven't added to your console yet, make sure to get it added to your machine by next Wednesday because at that point they can't confirm how long the server is still going to be active. Really quickly, $2 super chat, White Castle channel, Mike. Hey, I've teased doing burger reviews before. Thank you very much, Hobby Hands. Anyways, guys, very sad for the people at iiRcade as well. John, Michael, the team there, everybody's been great. You know, unfortunately, this is the end of the road, but hopefully we see it on the line and hopefully you guys stay in touch. And last but not least, the people in the community take solace in knowing that it's still going to continue and hopefully you guys still do your thing. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me this afternoon. I got to get back to my day job. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you tonight on Super Game Room, dudes. Goodbye, everybody. Got to remember how to shut this down.